Here's a wild thought. Can you really use pure mathematics to conquer the beautiful, brutal chaos of the NFL? I mean, to predict winners, not with your gut feeling, but with actual algorithms? Well, that's exactly what we're going to look at today. Let's dive into this fascinating experiment to see if a formula can really outsmart the field.
And before you just dismiss it, take a look at this number, 9-2. That's the author's Super Bowl prediction record over the last 11 years, just using his statistical models. I mean, that's a better track record than most professional analysts. It kind of makes you stop and wonder.
Yeah, how is that possible? Because, predicting one massive high-stakes game is one thing. But can you apply that same mathematical logic to the week-in, week-out grind of the regular NFL season? That's the real question we're digging into here.
Now, what I think is really cool about all this is the author's own admission. He's not out here boasting. This is a public experiment. He's putting his models out there for the first time over a full season. And honestly, he's just as curious as we are to see what happens. It's a real journey into the unknown. Okay, so who are the detectives on this case? We're not just dealing with one single formula. Nope, we're looking at a whole team. 4 different mathematical models, and each one has its own unique way of looking at the game.
Let's meet the first couple. Think of algorithm A as the offensive optimist. It looks at both offense and defense stats, sure, but it gives a lot more weight to the offense. The thinking is, hey, scoring points is the best way to win. Then you have algorithms B1 and B2. They're the balanced analysts. They treat both sides of the ball equally, searching for that more complete, well-rounded team performance.
And this part is brilliant because it shows this fundamental split in strategy. See, algorithms A and B are the veterans. Their predictions were actually made way back in August, using 5 years of data. But algorithm C, that's the reactive rookie. It just started in week 5, and it only uses data from this season. That means it's reacting to what's happening on the field right now in real time.
So how do we even know if any of this stuff is working? I mean, you need a clear, objective way to measure it, right? For this experiment, the author borrows a really simple and honestly pretty tough system from the world of betting.
It's a concept called gambler's math. The logic here is so simple and powerful. It basically tells you the exact number of games you need to pick correctly in a week to be profitable, if you were to bet on every single game. It's a really tough, no-excuses way to measure success.
And that magic number is 9. In a typical week with, say, 15 or 16 games, if an algorithm gets 9 or more winners right, it's had a successful week, profitable. It's a simple but really high bar to clear.
All right, so let's look at the report card from week 7. As you can see, most of the models actually hit that magic number of 9 wins. The reactive rookie, algorithm C, went 9-6. Not bad. Algorithm A and B1 also passed the test. But oof, look at algorithm B2, a rough week at 5-9. And this really shows you that even within the same family of models, you can get totally different outcomes.
But this is where it gets really interesting. When all the different algorithms agree on a winner, the author calls these unanimous picks, the results are fantastic. They've gone an impressive 12-3 over the last 3 weeks. In the betting world, if you have a success rate over 55 to 57%, that's considered the gold standard for being profitable long-term. So the takeaway is crystal clear. When all these different mathematical points of view line up, it creates an incredibly strong signal.
Okay, so now that we know how this all works and what happened last week, let's get to the main event, the forecast for week 8. This is where those different philosophies really start to clash, and it creates this fascinating statistical standoff.
First up, let's look at the unanimous picks, the easy ones. For week 8, all 4 algorithms are in total agreement on 6 teams: the Bills, the Bengals, the Falcons, the Buccaneers, the Colts, and the Chiefs. So based on what we've seen, these are the highest confidence picks of the week.
But let's be honest, agreement is kind of boring. The real story, the real test for these models, is in the games where they completely disagree with each other. This is where you see their different personalities really shine.
Okay, for example, take the Vikings versus the Chargers. The 3 veteran models, A, B1, and B2, the ones using historical data, they all pick the Chargers. But algorithm C, the one that only cares about this season, it's the lone wolf picking the Vikings. It's a classic battle, long-term history versus short-term momentum.
And then it gets even messier with the 49ers and the Texans. Here we have a perfect 2-2 split. Algorithms A and B1 are on the 49ers, while B2 and C are backing the Texans. The data gives us absolutely no clear favorite here. It's a true statistical toss-up.
And this might be the most fascinating split of the whole week. 3 of the 4 models are picking the Bears to beat the Ravens. But Algorithm C predicts a Ravens win with a huge catch. It only picks the Ravens if their star quarterback Lamar Jackson starts and is healthy. This is a perfect example of data meeting reality. The model is actually smart enough to know that its whole prediction depends on one crucial real-world person.
So after we've looked at all this data, all the agreements, all the disagreements, what are you supposed to do with it? How do you turn all these conflicting numbers into an actual decision?
Well, the author gives some pretty simple advice. Don't try to jump between the models week to week, chasing whichever one did best last time. Instead, pick the philosophy that makes the most sense to you, whether that's the long-term view of A and B or the more reactive style of C. And just stick with it. Consistency, he says, is key.
And that really leaves us with one final question, one that goes way beyond football. When your carefully built data models are all pointing in different directions, what do you trust? Do you trust the formula you spent years building, or do you trust the reality of the moment? That's the challenge these algorithms, and really all of us, face every single week.